Gyanam Jana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupa Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vidamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Ramani Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yantah pravishya mama vacham imam prasuptam Sanjivayata kila shakti darak svadhamna Anyamsya hasta charana shravana tvagadim Pranannamo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam Svasyastu vishvasya kalach prasidatam Yayanta bhutani shivam mithodiyam Manascha vadram bhajatata dokshaje Aveshyatam no matir apyahaitu ki Kalach kalir balina indriya vairi varga Shri bhakti marga iha kantaka koti ruda Haha kvayami vikalach kimaham karomi Chaitanya Chandra Yadinadya Kripam Karosi. Hare Krishna. I'm very happy to see all of you. Today I looked in Gaudiya Vaishnava calendar, our Panchang, and found out that today is Mangalvar and Bharani Nakshatra and Chaturthi Tithi. It's the worst Tithi, worst Nakshatra and worst Vara. So I think it's a very auspicious beginning. So I'm sure our very retreat will have a great success. Because bhakti does not depend on these things. Bhakti is transcendental. And ultimately we are here to talk about Krishna. And it's the most auspicious place in the universe to talk about Krishna, because Krishna himself lifted Govardhan hill and invited the whole world under the shelter of Govardhan hill. So I'll start with little introduction. We'll talk about Madhurya Kadambini. I started this topic in February, in the beginning of February in Goa, and we covered 2 chapters of Madhurya Kadambini. So tomorrow I will give a brief overview of the previous classes, and from the evening or whatever, let's see, we will start the next chapter of Madhurya Kadambini, which is the most important chapter. The chapter which is describing process of eradicating anarthas. How anarthas are being washed off our heart, and how the original pristine purity is being established within the heart. So this will be the topic of our discussions this year. Hopefully we will cover 2 chapters, the 3rd and 4th chapter, which is Nishta. And from the next year we will reach Ruchi, Asakti, and then easily Bhava and Prema. So this year it will be a little difficult, but from the next year onwards it will be just very nice. It's a little advertisement for the next year retreat. But I will start from explaining this beautiful bhajan, one of my favorite bhajans, written by Narottam Das Thakur, which is called Lalasamai Prarthana. It's a prayer full of eagerness, full of lalasa, intense desire. And actually, this intense desire is the key for our success. Our main problem is the lack of intense desire. We have a lot of theoretical knowledge, we have a lot of different things, but ultimately everything will remain dead and useless without pran of intense desire. It will just remain an external show of bhakti. And we may deceive others, we may even deceive ourselves. We may think that everything is fine, we are fine. Like little children, they just, like this. And we look at them and we say, oh, they are pure devotees. So, and then just wait for a few years. You will find out what's the reality on the ground. But in the beginning, they're like this. So in the similar way, we, as neophyte devotees, as a beginning devotees, we're like this. And we can make a good show of pure devotion, but ultimately it's not a condition. It's not a question of the external show. It's the question of the reality of the heart. And heart means desires. This is what heart means. When we talk about heart, we talk about desires. And if our desires are strong enough, then the path of bhakti is very easy, smooth, and ultimately successful. But if desires, spiritual desires, are not so strong, then the material desires will be pulling us back. We will try to strive towards Krishna, but there will be very strong force which would be tearing us apart. And that's a big problem. Sometimes I receive letters and people say, I'm doing everything. Why nothing happens? Why I'm still there? Well, because we do have desire, no doubt about it. If we didn't have desire, spiritual desire, desire to achieve Krishna, desire to come to Him, desire to love Him, to serve Him, we wouldn't be here. But this desire is not strong enough, and it's only very superficial conscious desire. Whereas deep down in the subconsciousness, there is a lot of very strong desires which we may not even be aware of. But they're still keeping us from going forward. They're keeping us bound to this place in the material world. And if we look in our heart, yes, we do have some spiritual desires, but ultimately it's not so bad here, isn't it? It's not so bad. It's not, it's still not so hot. Soon it will be very hot, but let's see. And it's not so bad. We have prasadam, nice, everything is nice. So therefore, this strengthening of our desire is the most crucial point. See, this is the confirmation. It's the most crucial point, and therefore Narottam Das Thakur, he wrote this song because where do we get desire? We cannot really squeeze out desire. We cannot really artificially, we can, but ultimately it doesn't work. Desire is not just some hysterical condition. Yeah, I want. No, it has to have very deep roots in our heart. And the association with advanced devotees is the only cause for genuine desire. Narottam Das Thakur is expressing this desire, and his idea is to transmit this desire to us. Repeating his words, which are coming from this place of his heart, where he sincerely desires to love Krishna and to understand Krishna. If we repeat these words, then a little shadow of his desire will come to us. Therefore, it is again and again said in our scriptures that sadhu sangha, sadhu sangha, sadhu sangha. So much stress is given to sadhu sangha, even very short lava matra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hoy, even very short moment of association with sadhu can change the condition of our heart. Whereas if we just theoretically try to understand bhakti, it's the same as to try to theoretically learn how to swim. You may theoretically learn how to swim. It will not save you if you are in the water. You will drown. You will not really swim. So bhakti is a practical discipline, and for any practical discipline, if you want to excel it, if you want to achieve perfection in any practical discipline, you need some personal association with somebody who is more advanced. There is no question of achieving anything in terms of practical disciplines unless you associate with somebody who is expert in this field. So that's why again and again and again it is stressed, sadhu sangha, sadhu sangha. And Narottam Das Thakur is giving us his sadhu sangha. It's the best which he can give to us at this moment of time. And while repeating the words of Narottam Das Thakur, we should try to really feel what he is feeling while crying. Gauranga bolite habe pulaka sharira. He's really crying for this moment when he would say Gauranga. Not just sometimes we say Gauranga, Gauranga, Gauranga. But no pulaka sharira. So he says, when I will say this from the place in my heart in such a way, then all my hairs will stand on end. It basically means, when will I understand who is Gauranga and what he came to give? What is the gift of Lord Gauranga, what he did give to us, to most fallen people of Kali Yuga? He gave the most amazing Unata Ujvala Rasa Svabhakti Shriyam. He gave the most elevated experience of love, which is available to us. The most elevated experience of love of Srimati Radharani. Unata Ujvala Rasa Svabhakti Shriyam. Srila Rupa Goswami, he coined this phrase. What he gave? He gave Unata Ujvala Rasa. Ujvala Rasa means Parakiya Rasa. Parakiya Rasa among all the rasas of spiritual world is the most elevated. But he gave Unata Ujvala Rasa. Not just Ujvala Rasa, not just Parakiya Rasa. Unata Ujvala Rasa means the rasa which is experienced by Srimati Radharani herself. Svabhakti Shriyam, because we cannot experience what she experienced, but we can experience the shadow or the effulgence of her experience. Therefore he says, Unata Ujvala Rasa Svabhakti Shriyam, the effulgence of the love of Srimati Radharani. And basically he is talking about the most amazing spiritual phenomena which is explained in Ujvala Nilamani, where Srila Rupa Goswami is explaining how intensity of love of Srimati Radharani is so strong that whoever comes close and gets under the influence, he will experience the same feelings which she experiences herself. And Gauranga Mahaprabhu came to experience this feeling and to give it to us, to give access to the same feelings to all of us. And if we start understanding this, we kind of become familiar. Yeah, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, yes. No problem. Hare Krishna. So it's a very unfortunate condition of living entities when they become familiar with something and they forget the greatness of what they encounter with. It's very, very unfortunate. And sometimes we need to hear somebody else to explain. Like recently I listened Katha on YouTube by Rajendra Maharaj from Ramananda Sampradaya. He's famous here in Vrindavan. He gives very sweet Katha, and usually he speaks about Bhaktamal or Ram Katha or sometimes Bhagavad Katha. But I opened his Katha about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he started speaking about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and it was so amazingly sweet to hear how he explains the sweetness of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and glory of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his gift. And he basically says, yes, the Lord himself has come. He took the effulgence of Srimati Radharani and he came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he distributed this love in form of Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Namaiva Kevalam Kalona Steva Nasteva Gatiranyatha. And he says now the whole world is chanting Hare Krishna. Who, except for God himself, can do it? And of course he said Prabhupada did it. He admitted that it was his, Prabhupada's, his credit. Anyway, so he says, Gauranga bolite habe pulaka sharira. When will I say Gauranga with understanding who is Gauranga? And then at this very moment, Hari Hari bolite nayane badanira. Then I will start chanting Hare Krishna and the tears will flow from my eyes. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So now when we chant Hare Krishna, we don't have tears. But at least we should have tears. We should cry because we don't have tears. That would be a good way to get some tears while we're chanting. We should understand it's not something ordinary. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So he basically says, when will I understand who is Gauranga Mahaprabhu? Then only I will be able to chant Hare Krishna with the proper mood and with the proper eagerness and with the proper desire to, or proper understanding that Hare Krishna is not different from Krishna himself. But then he says how this process of transformation of the heart, change of the heart takes place. Because again, it's not a question of squeezing out tears from our eyes. It's a question of experiencing something not ordinary. And he explains how this is happening, the stages of transformation of the heart, which is basically the subject matter of our retreat. The gradual transformation of the heart. He says that the first thing, he says, Arakabi Nitai Chand Koruna Karibi. The first thing is to get the mercy of Nitai Chand, who is the original spiritual master. The first condition, the first and necessary condition is to please spiritual master in such a way that his heart would melt and all the blessings which he has within his heart, all the spiritual experience which he accumulated within his heart, by the power of our service and humble mood, would be transferred from his heart to our heart. It's a very special process of downloading information. We all know how to download files from internet. that's not so difficult. But to download mercy from the heart of spiritual master is a little tricky process. It's not just to push the button and then it downloads. No. For that, the whole process is there. You're sincerely trying and you don't want anything. Of course, you do want something. This is mercy. But you don't say this. You just say, I don't want anything, I just want to serve. But if you're insistent enough and sincere enough, if it's really, like sometimes you see how people are trying, and you cannot help but be moved by their sincere endeavors. You see how sincerely they're trying, and then even if you don't want, your heart anyway melts, and when it's melted, then the mercy is being downloaded. It's not, the process is not like this, Ashirvad, give me Ashirvad. Yeah, Ashirvad, get out of here. So that's not the process. The process is that I sincerely try to please my spiritual master, and by my sincere endeavors, he gives me his mercy. And then, what is the sign that I receive the mercy? Samsara basana mora kabe tucha habe. He says that the next stage, when we get the mercy, then samsara vasana, the vasanas which we have, which keep us tied in this material existence, in this samsara, which actually bind us to this material world, they become tucha. They become insignificant. The desires to enjoy this material world become very weak to such an extent that they are not anymore able to influence us in our actions, in our words, and even in our thought process. Now we are not really controlling. To a certain extent we may control our actions. To a lesser extent we may control our speech. Even to much lesser extent we may control, or we can control our thought process. Because it is controlled by whom? It is controlled by karma. It is controlled by vasanas which we have. It is controlled by the experiences which we have from previous lives. It is some very strong program. And this strong program is basically directing us, pushing us in a certain way. So he says, as soon as we receive the mercy of spiritual master, we achieve freedom. And freedom basically means I can choose. I can still go along with my karma, follow the program which is there, and follow the destiny which I have. And any astrologer can tell you what you should do. But at the same time, he says, because it becomes tucha. Tucha basically means that you don't have to follow it. You have the freedom to choose whether you want to follow it or you don't want to follow it. And you still may want to follow it, but if you are intelligent enough, then you will realize that you don't have to do it. This is the meaning of tucha. It's not that all the karma leaves us the moment we receive the mercy of spiritual master. No, karma is still there, but the freedom is also there. Whereas when we only have karma but no mercy of spiritual master, then there is no freedom, only karma. So, and then he says the most amazing and beautiful thing, Vishoya chariya kabe Shuddha Abhiman, the moment when I give up the Bishoy, the object of senses, the desire to enjoy material senses, then my mind becomes clear. Then immediately my mind becomes clear, and clear mind means the mind which is capable of reflecting reality. Now our mind is reflecting only distorted version of reality. We can only see and observe material reality without really understanding the deeper background of reality. We don't understand, we only have very superficial understanding of reality. We don't understand what is the internal working of reality, how it works, and how ultimately Krishna works. We only have this external vision. And therefore he says that my mind become clear, and my mind become clear basically means that I will be able to see Krishna. The purpose of mind is to see Krishna. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu calls our mind as mirror. Cheta Darpana Marjana. Our heart is a mirror. And ultimately this mirror has to reflect spiritual reality, can reflect spiritual reality. And spiritual reality means Krishna. So he says, and then Kabehama Herabo Shri Vrindavan, as soon as my heart becomes clear, I will see real Vrindavan. Not before that, not before I clean my heart, I will be able to see Vrindavan. When we go through Vrindavan, when we walk around, we only see garbage. Why do we see garbage? Because there is a lot of garbage in our heart. What else can we see? We cannot see anything else. We only see garbage because there is too much garbage there. So, but to see Sri Vrindavan basically means to see Krishna and to see how the inhabitants of Vrindavan, how the Vrajavasis love Krishna. That's what it means to see Vrindavan. It doesn't mean to see shopkeepers and rickshaws and what else? Dogs. To see Vrindavan means to see love, to see this prema which is binding the inhabitants of Vrindavan with Krishna. And then he says, very interesting thing, that even if you receive the mercy of your spiritual master, by the mercy of your spiritual master you receive the gift of freedom, and the gift of freedom helped you to concentrate your mind on spiritual practice. Because before that, when you don't have this gift of freedom, you cannot really practice properly because your mind will always distract you. All kinds of different desires will appear in your mind and will always, you will chant Hare Krishna, but Krishna knows what you really mean. He doesn't believe you that you chant Hare Krishna. He knows what is going on within your heart. It means that we're not free. We cannot stop our thoughts of going their usual direction. So first we have to get the freedom. Freedom means I want, and I don't think about anything else, I only think about Krishna. That's what freedom is. These sticky material desires do not disturb us when we don't want them to disturb us. When we want them to disturb us, no problem, let them disturb. But At this moment of time, even if we don't want them to disturb us, they still disturb. They couldn't care less about whether we want to be disturbed or not. They're still disturbing us. And we can't do anything about it. So he says, you get the mercy of spiritual master, you get the gift of freedom by receiving the mercy of spiritual master. Then your heart becomes clear. In the clean heart you see Vrindavan, but still you don't understand anything. Because in the next line of this bhajan he says, Rupara Gunata Pade Hoi Beakuti Kabehama Bujabose Jugala Piriti. He says that only when I get very strong desire to serve Rupa and Raghunath, then only I will understand Jugala Piriti, the dealings, especially between Radha and Krishna. Jugala Piriti means love of Radha and Krishna. Not before I develop this very strong desire to be at the feet of Rupa Raghunath, basically means to humbly serve their words, to study their books and to be absorbed in the beautiful conceptions which they described in their books. So, and therefore he concludes this prayer saying that my only desire to always stay at the feet of Rupa Raghunath, Rupa Raghunatha Pade Rahu Morash, always be there, Prarthana Karoye Sadhana Ratamadas. He says that always this prayer is within my heart. I want to be close to Rupa and Raghunath, to ultimately receive what Gauranga has come to give. And then, if I am at the feet of Rupa and Raghunath, if I am serving them very humbly, then I will say Gauranga, and then all the hairs on my body will stand on end. And then the tears will flow from my eyes when I chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, at least theoretically, we should understand that this is what I want. I want to get a glimpse of what does it mean to love Krishna with the same intensity as Srimati Radharani loves him and as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself showed in his example. And otherwise I will just remain a very how shall I say, without offending anyone, very nice devotee. It will just be very nice devotee. But we came here not to become very nice devotees. We came here to become completely mad. Completely overwhelmed by this amazing love which Gauranga Mahaprabhu came to give. So, and because we are studying the book of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he is definitely the one who is always at the feet of Rupa and Raghunath. Of course, some people are of the opinion that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, it's Rupa Goswami himself who came to explain his own words. So his position of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is extremely elevated and at the same time very much accessible to us in a sense, because he wrote so much and he explained so much. And this beautiful book, Madhurya Kadambini, which we are studying, is a brilliant example of him showing us or explaining us the inner mood of Srila Rupa Goswami. Explaining to us what even Srila Rupa Goswami and even Srila Jiva Goswami, his commentator, didn't explain, revealing very important truths which are important for us to understand thoroughly. So we will meet tomorrow in the morning, when? 10 o'clock. So at 10 o'clock tomorrow we'll start our little retreat. And if you have books with you, Madhurya Kadambini books, please read. We will briefly cover the first and second shower of this book, and then start explaining the third chapter of this book, the third shower of nectar. And what I want to say is that I was not joking when I said that this year's seminar will be a little difficult, because especially when we talk about anarthas, it may be sometimes painful. It actually should be painful. It actually has to be painful. Because without really seeing our weaknesses and deficiencies, we will never be able to get rid of them. Without confronting them, without being very honest and very clear about our shortcomings. Because if we don't see, or if we pretend of not seeing them, then we will still be under the spell of these anarthas. We will still remain bound by these anarthas. So the first condition, the first preliminary condition, is to very clearly see the condition of our heart, the situation of our heart, and then easily release all these anarthas from there. They are only there because we love them. They are not by chance are called anarthas, because even though they are anarthas, something which is not really valuable, still we think that they are arthas. They are something which we need and we require, and that's why it's so difficult to get rid of them. That's why nothing really happens. But anyway, we have 4 full days to deliberate about our anarthas and to say goodbye to them. if we want. So that's the plan, and I really hope that it was an auspicious beginning in this very auspicious Mangalvar Chaturthi Bharati Nakshatra day. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. No. It's too late. please